Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night, depending on where in the world you are joining me from. I am 𝐂𝐎𝐍𝐈𝐍, and this is the Crypto and Cognac podcast show. As always, every Thursday, 7 p.m. Atlantic Standard Time, sharp right here on YouTube. And if I'm here, Henny Daya, Simi. Guys, it's that time in the season. It's that time in the cycle where we answer the most asked question that we get on our Instagram as the markets start heating up. And that question is, how did I get started in this crypto thing? So today, as always, we are going to dissect this cryptic world of cryptocurrency. But first, cheers. Because as always, we here in the Caribbean, we do not lime dry mouth. So we're going to chop it up. We're going to go all the way back and we're going to come a little forward. We're not going to go into details. It's not a tutorial. It's more of a preparation, right? Answering the question about how, why, and what are some of the considerations that must be taken when making that move. And as always, shout out to everybody in the comments. Shout out to my boy Stevie. Shout out to Eddie. Shout out to those green stalkers marking the page. Welcome to the Crypto and Cognac podcast show, right? And as always, before we get into it, some housekeeping. I am not a financial advisor. This is not a financial advisory podcast. Nothing that I share here this evening, last evening, or any evening to come should be misconstrued as financial advice, right? It's all about the ICE rule. Information, conversation, education, sometimes some entertainment, and always Hennessy, right? So how did we even get here? Where did cryptocurrencies come from? What the hell are they? Is it real money? So let's go back to 2008. We had a global financial crisis which exposed a lot of flaws in our traditional centralized financial system, right? And I would even go so far as to say that it not only exposed, but it was exploited by our traditional financial system. And up popped a guy, a group by the name that go by the pseudonym, the anonymous Satoshi Nakamoto, who in 2009 released the Bitcoin white paper. It detailed the first ever decentralized cryptocurrency, right? So it wasn't the first cryptocurrency, but it was the first decentralized cryptocurrency and the first that kind of set itself apart by focusing on what I would say three, some would call it four foundational pillars. Those pillars being one, decentralization, right? No central authority, no government, no institution that has control over the network. The next, transparency. Every single transaction that is executed on the Bitcoin blockchain is available for every single person to see. There is nothing that can be hidden as far as transactions, right? Now, there is some pseudonymity in terms of who is carrying out the transactions. If you don't know who owns the wallet address, you may not know who is transacting, but we know that a transaction is taking place and we can audit. Every single individual who has access to the internet can audit the transactions on the Bitcoin blockchain, right? So we talk about decentralization, we talked about transparency. The third main pillar is that of immutability or security. The blockchain cannot be tampered with, right? Nobody can go into it, erase transactions, change transactions, pretend like something that happened didn't happen, right? It doesn't matter how big you are, how rich you are, how powerful you are. No one can alter the details of what has happened on the blockchain. No one can reverse a transaction. It is a free and fair playing field for every single individual who participates on it, as far as the security and as far as the immutability of the blockchain. The fourth one, and I think this one is more so valuable in terms of Bitcoin and BTC as a currency, and that is the idea of scarcity, right? There has and will always ever be only 21 million BTCs, right? And those are being mined at a particular frequency, a particular scale. And when they are all mined, we expect the final BTC based on the numbers to be mined in the year 2140. When that happens, there will be no more BTC. Nobody can step in and say, you know what, we're going to create some more. And why is that important? Because what we've seen historically as it relates, especially to fiat currency, is that the printing or the additional supply of any currency, always the inflation around any currency always facilitates the value proposition of that currency, any single unit of that currency, trending towards zero, right? And when you can print more, it really actually destabilizes and disincentivizes people from saving that particular form of currency. Now, if you've been here a long time, since 2021, when we started, we talked about the massive amounts of money printing taking place out of the US and what it has done to destabilize the power of the US currency and all the subsequent currencies that rely on it. But we're not going to get into that now. Like I said, this is a bit of a all-in-one, everything at the same time, right? So again, we go again. Decentralization, transparency, immutability or security, and scarcity. Those are the four main pillars that on which Satoshi built Bitcoin, the Bitcoin blockchain, and BTC, which is the coin or currency of that blockchain. And Satoshi, at the point in time, he said, he's quoted as saying, if you don't believe me or you don't get it, I don't have the time to try and convince you. So I am here every week to try and convince you. Not everybody, even though I know at some point everybody gonna get it, but especially you, my Caribbean people, because I believe that too many times we fall behind, and I'm hoping that this is one such time that we do not allow the Caribbean to fall behind the rest of the world as it relates to technology, money, investment, or any of those kind of things, right? Now, why particularly in the Caribbean context, I think it's so important for the next step. We And this is why we tend not to have the level of success that we see some people having globally. We as a people tend to be very skeptical, right? And sometimes rightfully so, right? We are descended from people who were sold a dream. We are descended from people who were taken onto ships and brought here, or people who were told that when they get here, they would have a certain type of lifestyle, and it didn't happen. So we are bred to be skeptics. And oftentimes that skepticism holds us back. But what I'm advocating for is that we have the right amount of skepticism and the right amount of curiosity, right? Again, we have some challenges here in the region in terms of lack of regulations. We have high fraud risk. We have significant economic volatility. But my advice is that for anyone who is somewhat interested in hearing more about this particular space, I would say go do your own research. But if you're looking at this as an investment vehicle, you need to ask yourself some serious questions. You need to ask yourself about whether or not you're looking for long-term savings or you're looking for short-term profits. Can I afford to lose everything that I invest? This is real. This is not a game. People have made a lot of money, but people have lost their whole shirt, right? Their shirt, their vest, everything. Boxers, drawers, everything, right? Do you understand the volatility that exists in the crypto market? If not, you have some studying to do. And I keep saying, crypto is not a get rich quick scheme. If that is your plan, you're in the wrong place, right? It is a high risk, high reward environment. Do you have the risk tolerance to take on high risk? Are you comfortable with risk? I think one of the first things you need to do when looking to get into this space as it relates to investment is to understand your risk profile, right? And what that basically means is, what's your risk tolerance? How comfortable are you with taking financial risk, right? What is your risk capacity? How much risk can you afford to take, right? Based on your financial situation. And everybody's situation will be different. So no matter what your brother tell you, your friend tell you, your uncle tell you, your nene tell you, the man on TV tell you, the man on YouTube tell you, his situation might be very different to your situation. He might have masses of disposable income and could afford to risk thousands of dollars. You mightn't be able to risk losing a $5, right? So from that perspective, you might only be able to play with a dollar because that is where your risk capacity lies. And then what are your risk requirements? How much risk do you need to take to achieve your goal? And are you willing to take those risks, right? Like I said, we're not going deep into any of these things. We're trying to touch on everything so people have a clear understanding of what they need to be thinking about, gain a little appreciation for what this thing is before they get started. Everybody here, how to get started in crypto, and they're thinking, all right, what coin to buy, what token to buy. That's not what we're here for, right? Like I said, information, conversation, education, every single time. That's what we're about, right? So let me just touch base in the comments. Say, Stevie, Eddie, all right, we're still here. We're still going at it, right? Next thing, there are different types of crypto assets, right? And different types of blockchains. Now, I've spoken about Bitcoin, I've spoken about BTC, which is largely regarded as digital gold, right? And it is primarily perceived as a store of value. It is used as a currency, absolutely. But primarily it's perceived now, especially as institutional investors get involved, as a store of value, a hedge against inflation. So that's Bitcoin, that's BTC. Then we have Ethereum, right, which was the first major smart contract blockchain. A lot of decentralized applications run on top of that. That is the functional layer of the blockchain. That's where we have all the DeFi taking place. We have stable coins, which pretty much are what they say they are, or supposed to be what they say they are. They basically act as a stable source of currency to help you transact across the various blockchains, to get involved in the DeFi spaces, and they kind of mirror some of the traditional fiat currencies. So we have a ton of US dollar pegged stable coins, USDT, USDC, for example. We have altcoins. These are some of the tokens that represent the various dApps and operate on top of the base layer blockchains. Some popular ones: BNB, Cardano, Solana, just to name a few. Again, no name that I call here should be thought of as what's the word I'm looking for? As an endorsement for these particular tokens. I'm just telling you about the various tokens. We're not giving no financial advice here, right? And as we talking, I keep saying tokens and I keep saying coins. What is the difference? So a crypto coin is one that is the base currency of a crypto blockchain. So BTC is the currency of the Bitcoin blockchain. ETH or ETH or Ether is the currency of the Ethereum blockchain. Sol or Solana is the currency of the Solana blockchain. But on top of that, we have tokens that may be attributable to projects, might be attributable to companies, might be like the stable coins representative of a peg of basket of fiat currencies that they are not a specific currency of a blockchain, and those are what we call tokens. So anybody could create a token even without creating a blockchain, right? But if it's a coin, it is specifically attached to a blockchain as that blockchain's main currency, right? Then we have all the meme coins, the blah 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 blah. We have some tokens being built right here in the Caribbean, right? And we hope that some of these tokens will ultimately bring some utility that allow for us here in the Caribbean to be able to participate and integrate in a more significant way in the crypto space. We have 𝐂𝐻𝐕𝐄𝐑𝐒𝐀𝐓𝐈𝐎𝐍, which is one that I've had people on here talking about. We have 𝐵IT, we have, and then we have crypto projects that have been around this space for a long time, like 𝐵IT, which is a Barbados-based company who have helped and supported in terms of the development of CBDCs across the globe and here in the region. A CBDC is a different type of token. It is a central bank backed digital currency, and it is exactly what it says. It basically is an authorized form of currency by a central bank that is used to represent just as fiat currency, but digitally. And it is digitally native, not like what is in your bank, which is not digitally native, it's more digitally representative. CBDCs are created and exist only online, only on chain. And that's one of the major differences. And as we get there, as we talk about that, I think it's a good segue to us talking about on-ramping, right? Because we all know that here in the Caribbean, we have significant challenges with getting on to the crypto space, to having access to the crypto space. And some people believe that CBDCs will be an opportunity for that to take place in a more significant way. Some people fear that CBDCs will allow for, while it will benefit in terms of aiding adoption, it will create a situation where a centralized institution, namely a government, can monitor everything that people do financially, which ultimately goes against the original tenants of blockchain and cryptocurrency, particularly Bitcoin, right? So, some positives, some hesitations, I should say, right? Now, some of the common challenges that we experience here in the Caribbean as it relates to onboarding is, of course, access to global exchanges, right? Due to KYC, due to being geo-blocked. So, for example, some American-based crypto exchanges don't allow Caribbean people, don't recognize Caribbean identification cards, DPs, passports. Some of us, once we log into our internet, we can't even get access, right? So some people use VPNs and all these kind of things. Obviously, we've experienced crypto credit cards being rejected. Obviously, there've been a lot of talk about MasterCard not allowing this, Visa card not allowing this. But what we've learned over the years is that it's actually the banks, the local banks, blocking crypto-related transactions, because sometimes it's because they see crypto and blockchain being a direct competition to their own business. Sometimes it's because at the end of the day, it is a draw on the foreign exchange reserves of the bank, of the country, as the case may be, right? And there are almost no regional crypto exchanges, like in the true sense of the word. So for us here, we have to still use some form of peer-to-peer platform, whether it be Bitcoin.bb that allows people to buy and sell crypto, and they basically manage a supply system where they buy for people who want to sell and they sell to people who want to buy. Similarly, Sunshine Exchange, which is another peer-to-peer platform founded by a Trini, but I wouldn't call it a Trini exchange, because I mean he's been across the world building up his platform, seeking fundraising and stuff like that. So those are the main options. Or somebody who's involved in crypto, somebody who gets paid in crypto, they need to live and experience life in a fiat environment, which the Caribbean still is, and they have you have the opportunity to buy from them because they need fiat currency, you want crypto, right? So largely across the region it's still peer-to-peer. Some people, for a while, I think 2020 into 2021, we were still kind of getting away with onboarding to Binance and Kraken and Coinbase, using our credit cards. A lot of people were very open to doing KYC, but even that has kind of been slowed down significantly. And we do know that there are digital banks popping up in the region, in Barbados and Bahamas, who have shown that they are open to crypto. Some of them have all funded sandboxes to help develop the space. So, I mean, we hope that we're going to see more of this happen, and we're going to see more people be able to get involved and be able to access the crypto space. But obviously, if you're going to enter the crypto space, you're going to purchase cryptocurrencies, you're going to hold cryptocurrencies, you need somewhere to put it, right? So we're going to touch a little bit on crypto wallets. Now, we've done full episodes on these, but like I said, we're going to give a little bit of everything today. So there are custodial wallets, there are soft wallets, there are hard wallets. Custodial wallets, your Binance, all your centralized exchanges, your Binance, your Coinbase, your Alti, and these are where the platform, the exchange, they hold the private keys. This helps in terms of, if you have customer service issues, there's somebody to help you, the back end of it. And then there are non-custodial wallets like MetaMask, like Trust Wallet, like Zerion, where you hold your private keys. And like I said, and I've said previously and many times before, one of the great benefits of being in crypto is that you are your own bank. One of the greatest drawbacks to being in crypto is that you are your own bank. So if you're gonna participate in the space with a non-custodial wallet, you have to understand that it requires a different level of responsibility on your part. There's no customer service coming to save you. There's nobody coming to reroute things and send back your money, and you send it to the wrong person. It have none of that. So like I said, there's a different level of responsibility that is required. And of course, like the hardware wallets, the Ledger, the Trezor, and these are what you call cold storage wallets. These are wallets that you basically use for long-term storage of your cryptocurrencies. They don't actively connect to the internet, so it makes it harder for them to be hacked. But again, it requires a lot of responsibility on your part. And then once you're in the crypto space, what next, right? Crypto has grown tremendously. It's not just about buy and hold. There are so many more types of products available in the space. Like I said, this DeFi or decentralized finance has taken over. There's staking, there's lending, there's yield farming. And you see so many bigger and bigger podcasts. Of course, it's a space that is very nascent. We are 16 years in. A lot of the education around the space still is left to newsletters and articles and write-ups and podcasts and Telegram groups and all these kind of things. So be very discerning. If it sounds too good to be true, most times it is. Be careful who you listen to. It is not just about hype. It is not just about social media pumps. Please, please, please seek out the information, seek out the education. There are universities that now offer qualifications in blockchain, in crypto. One of the best teachers in this space, and I've been saying it from day one, Andreas Antonopoulos. He is somebody who gets it and is able to break it down as simple as possible. Go to YouTube, find his videos. He's not selling you anything. He's just trying to make you aware. Again, education is key. Education is paramount. Use the resources available to you. In terms of books, try to get your hands on the Bitcoin Standard. Still one of the better books out there to introduce you to the space. There are websites like CoinMarketCap, CoinGecko that give you information about tokens to make sure that you are getting the right wallet, crypto contract addresses to make sure you're buying the right token, because anybody could create a token that has any name. You might be looking for Bitcoin and you might get the wrong address. If it's on Ethereum, if it's on Solana, it's not real Bitcoin, so be careful. Some of these exchanges like Binance, they offer knowledge in terms of Bitcoin Academy. There's Khan Academy that also offers blockchain basics, and it's still very much an engaging space. It's a place where oftentimes you have to learn from those people who've been here for longer than you. So if there are meetups in and around your town, please go there, talk to people, ask questions. Again, be careful of people trying to sell you things. If the first conversation they're trying to sell you something, just be careful, right? Because if somebody really interested in teaching you about the space, they're not going to start by trying to sell you anything, right? But the information is out there. This is episode 22, season 6 of the podcast, which means that we have put out, my math's failing me, 30 by 5 is 150 plus 22 is 172 episodes. We have talked about everything and anything in this podcast. Shameful plug, go back, Google the Crypto and Cognac podcast show / anything you want to talk about. You want to know about NFTs? We've talked about. You want to know about Meme coins, we've talked about. You want to know about stable coins, we've talked about. You want to know about CBDCs, we've talked about it. You know about centralized exchanges, decentralized exchanges, we've talked about it. And we've talked to some of the most brilliant minds in this space. So go check back, find one of our own old episodes, and check it out if you are looking for the information. But seek out the information, do your own research, right? Guys, I'm not going to keep you much longer. As always, adoption is inevitable. Do not fall behind, right? The education is free, the information is free. Seek it out, right? Illuminati, OUT out. Be blessed, guys. See you all next week.